Welcome to Lord Beer Me Strength.
This is the podcast where we ask God to beer us some strength.
And then we use that strength to pray without ceasing, talk about beer, and digest the issues.
And also sometimes we quote The Office.
For your edification and our enjoyment.
Because we have freedom in Christ.
You're Lisa.
You're Marge.
Now Lord Beer us strength. Okay, cheers.
Ding. What are we drinking today, Marge? What do
We're
we got
drinking
here?
Corona Extra.
Yes. Have you ever had one of these?
I don't think so.
No? You didn't drink a lot of Corona during the pandemic?
I didn't know. It smells good.
Yeah?
Is it good?
I like it. But I'm completely not discerning as far as actual quality goes of beer, wine, coffee, those things. I have no idea. I will be honest. And I'm still a noob, you know? So I'm just happy to be here.
Alcohol in general?
Yeah. Right?
It's not bad. I thought I wouldn't like it.
I think it gets a bad rap, not just for the pandemic thing, but it kind of was considered, not the best beer in the first place. But again, I can't tell. So I'm enjoying being over 21, you know? Nobody can complain if I have one of these now.
Right.
So, that's that freedom we have.
The freedom in Christ.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean...
For our enjoyment.
We could talk about that.
Yeah.
The whole stigma of beer, that kind of thing. It took me a long time to be okay with drinking beer. Just buying it at the supermarket or whatever, and you're looking around to make sure nobody from church can see you or whatever, and it's like, no. I'm 40 years old.
That's me when I'm buying, acne cream. Nobody watch me.
The worst is feminine supplies.
Yeah.
I would legit have panic attacks as a teenager.
Oh, no.
In Walmart trying to buy feminine supplies.
That's horrible.
It was horrible. It was one of the worst experiences. I'm still traumatized walking down that aisle.
You're a woman. You're not supposed to have periods.
Right? Don't be gross. Can't believe you need that. That's so disgusting. No, but that goes into with what I'm going to talk about today.
Yeah. What are you going to talk about today?
Well, I'm going to talk about my testimony.
Nice.
What brought me to here?
I say that as I'm surprised. Oh really? You're going to talk about your testimony?
We hadn't just discussed this.
It's so weird.
It's on the list of topics that we're going to work our way down.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, we have arrived at this point
of
our podcast careers where people need to know what they're working with when they tune in. Yeah. Why we are the way that we are.
Well, why are you the way that you are?
Well, there's a lot of reasons.
You want to just get into it?
I mean, we might as well. That's the whole point, right?
I guess so.
I'm ready.
Okay.
You are.
All right, so tell us, what's your story?
My story started 40 years ago. I was born at a very young age.
Really?
Yes. To my parents who birthed me. And then I was their child. And I'm the oldest of four. So they came pretty fast. I have two younger sisters and a younger brother. And my brother was born the day after I turned 6. Okay. So we were all crammed in there, 4 kids in 6 years. And my sister and I are 13 months apart. And she's awesome. And we've been best friends our whole lives. We were pretty well inseparable. And but yeah, so it was me and my sister pretty much, and then my 2 younger siblings, and I treated them like crap. I regret that. I know that, and I've apologized to them. It's unfortunate. I just was not an emotionally healthy child, I was very insecure and had no way of understanding what I was actually dealing with, so I took it out on them. And I was a horrible sister to them. But they're cool now. I'm just lucky that they still speak to me. And they're both, really neat adults. I'm lucky to have them in my life. And, my other sister, too. They're all 3 of my siblings are, certifiably better people than me. They have the degrees to prove it. And I'm just over
degrees?
Here. Yeah, they have all finished college, and I did not. I'm just kind of puttering around on my farm while they're out.
You're right, that does mark.
Saving the world, you know?
You want a human being.
Yeah, I know. I mean, one's a kindergarten teacher, right? One's a therapist, but one's a pastor.
Yeah.
What do I do, Marge? Nothing. I do this podcast.
What do you mean, what are
Cheers.
you doing? Are you kidding me?
No, I homeschool my kids and stuff, but,
Yeah.
you know.
And you're like the sole manager of Crazy House?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is a full-time job.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, it's cool, but that was, childhood was a lot of, we changed schools and churches regularly.
Okay.
Like I went to 6 different churches, 7 different schools, counting homeschool as a youth. And so I never really felt grounded anywhere. I never made long-term friends that I felt close to.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah. And I'm just talking about things that I've realized, like, as an adult, that they've affected me. At the time, it was all I knew, So it was just, this is how it is. This is how life is. I literally thought that it's like how it was for everybody, I had no way of looking at things and being like, well, maybe this isn't normal, I had this very internalized notion as a child that I can look back on now, like things that happened and how I dealt with them, and I could recognize this is what was going on, but of course at the time I had no idea. I really believed that boys were better than girls, and that because I was a girl, that I wasn't as good as like boys. I wanted to be older, like whatever age I was just not good enough, and couldn't wait until I was a legitimate adult. But then, hey, you get to be a legitimate adult and it's still not enough. You still feel like you're not good enough, There's farther to go till you're validated or whatever. But I had a lot of good times as a kid. I had a lot of pets. I knew, like, really young that I loved animals, and I just wanted to have all the animals. I wanted to surround myself with the animals, and I kind of did. Like, when I was 9, I got my first guinea pig,
Aww.
and it changed my life.
What's his name?
His name was GP. Can
Okay.
you guess what that stands for?
I can't guess, yes.
It's guinea pig.
Wow.
My mom came up with it. My mom
GP.
is good at naming things.
Yeah.
She suggested GP, and, like, my 9-year-old brain just, like, exploded. It's like, yes!
He was in the stars.
So he was my little buddy, and then, of course, you gotta have more. You gotta get more
Right,
guinea
you
pigs.
just can't have one.
No, he had to be a daddy. So I did. I started breeding guinea pigs and selling the babies to the local pet store.
Oh,
And,
nice.
I mean, I could support my pet habit that way. Keep cranking out the guinea pigs so you can buy guinea pig food. That's how that works. Now I do that with chickens. But at one point, my dad had built some shelves in the garage to sustain my guinea pig habit, and I just filled them all up. I had 28 guinea pigs at one point.
Dude.
Yeah. So maybe an unhealthy level of guinea pigs. But it was my jam.
Did you name all of them?
Oh, heck yes. I mean, I could tell. I wonder if I can name them all right now.
Okay.
I had GP. I had Penny, Oreo, Twix, Gabriel, Simon.
Like how
Nope, that's as far as I can get.
Like there was like
At the
Twix,
top of my-
Oreo, and then Gabriel.
You get the guinea pig, and then you go wherever, like, its personality leads you. You can't know what their name is until you got it in your
Right.
hands. You
Right.
know.
Did you know we had guinea pigs?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Did you breed them, or were you a
unintentionally.
responsible pet owner?
We unintentionally bred them. I don't know how it happened.
Oopsie.
I know how it happened. I don't
Right?
know how it happened.
Circle of life. This is how you learn.
But
Gather around, kids. The guinea
they're
pigs are
so
breeding.
cute when they're born.
Oh my gosh!
They're
For
like-
real,
Yeah.
they are one of the
Oh.
cutest baby animals. It's documented.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they've got those giant heads. They come out fully furred.
Yeah. They're not gross.
They are precocious rodents, which means they're born ready to run.
Really?
Yes, fully furred. They're not useless like baby rats or mice or
Huh.
gerbils or hamsters, which I bred a couple of those too, and that's not as fun because guinea pigs are just the best.
Huh.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
they are. They're so cute. They're
Yeah.
like they eat out of your hand and they're like
the
parsley.
noises.
Yes.
The noises that they make, I miss that.
The little squeak.
The squeaking and the purring. I mean, they legit purr.
Yeah. But anyway, mine was like gray speckled.
Yeah.
And he had a cowlick right in the middle.
Yes.
And then I named him Smith.
That's precious.
Yeah.
Aw. He was a boy?
He was a boy.
Okay. So where'd you get the girl? Who had
In
the
the
girl?
same place. Like Jordan had the girl, I had the boy.
Ah, okay.
And Jordan's my sister, by the way.
Right. Yeah, we didn't establish that.
I don't know you know that, but shoot, what was her name? Kate? I feel so bad. She's gonna be mad at me. Kato. Her name is Kato.
Oh, that's a cool name.
Yes.
All right.
Kato and Smith, and then they had babies.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Good times, though. I mean, that's when I think about my childhood, that's what I think of is guinea pigs.
Really?
Yes, and box turtles. My mom would take us on box turtle hunting road trips, and we'd just drive around like the Villa Ridge back roads and stuff, and pull over when we saw a turtle in the road, and we'd bring it home and torture it until it died. Usually. It usually didn't end well.
Oh, that story.
But I just loved turtles, you know, loved I loved most animals. And really wanted dogs, but where we lived, it did not really, it wasn't conducive to many dogs. So we did get Rowdy at one point because he followed me home from school. I literally walked home we went to Emmanuel Lutheran at the time, and I just, for whatever reason, was walking home by myself. Laura wasn't with me, and this cute little black and white doggy jumped out from behind a bush and followed me home. And, you know, I half-heartedly tried to get him to stop, because I knew this was going to be an ordeal. Mm. But I really wanted him. Yeah. So I got him home and took his collar off.
Oh my gosh.
I threw it away.
Wait, he had a collar?
Yeah.
Oh my
I told my parents he did not have a collar. I did not lie a whole lot as a child. Uh-huh. But that one does haunt me sometimes.
Wait, do they know that now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We found his owner. His owner actually at the time went to our current church. Mm-hmm. My mom dropped us off for piano lessons there with a gal that played the piano at church, and on the way out from dropping us off, she had Rowdy out in the car, and these people were pulling into the parking lot, and they were like, "There's our dog, there's Spot, oh, we've been looking for him." We'd had him for like 5 months at this point.
Oh.
And so luckily I wasn't there for this because I was having piano lessons, but my mom was like, "Oh, yeah, I mean, we've been looking for his owners. I guess you can have him back, you know. We've taken good care of him. We love him, but you can have him back." And they were like, "Oh, no, we don't want him. No, we were glad that he was gone. We're just happy he's okay. You can have him." And she was like, "Okay." So then he was ours. But yeah, when my parents came home at first, it was not, you know. So they found the dog in the basement by then. I'd gotten him inside. And they were like, "No, can't have a dog." My poor father does not actually like animals. So he was tolerant to a point, right? But I think it was a real stretch for him to have, you know, to have me as a daughter. Like, where did this come from? Yeah, my parents like to have things neat and clean and not smelly. And I was like working actively against all of that. It seemed like, you know, but I just had to have the animals. The mess was just part of it. Like, sorry. So, I mean, they tried. They were patient, but it was rough for them. They let me keep that dog, and then in 1995, my mom was friends with a gal that lived out in Marthasville, on the flat part of Marthasville, right? So the river flooded, and these people had to leave their house and come stay with us, and they had 3 or 4 full-grown dogs, and this one dog's whole litter of puppies.
Oh my gosh.
So they brought all their dogs, and they had multiple cats and a litter of kittens at the time. And everybody came to our house and set up camp.
Is that a thing people did? Like,
I mean, they had to go somewhere, I guess.
You just hosted them for...
Yeah. It was my mom's best friend at the time and her family. And then it was like, what else do you do? My mom went to help them get their stuff out of the house as it was flooding. And when she got to the house in the morning, the water was out in the field behind the house. And by the time she was leaving the house a couple of hours later, she was walking out of the back door with boxes over her head and water chest high. So, and now that house, it isn't even there anymore. It got demolished after that. So, brought all these dogs over, and I totally bonded with the mother dog that had all the puppies. And it was like something in me clicked, you know, just totally clicked into place. And I had never felt attached to something that strongly before. But this dog loved me, dang it, and I loved this dog. And to this day, I think that dog was an angel. I think God sent me this angel because he knew I needed it, you know. We were homeschooling at the time. I was super lonely. I was just, you know, I was struggling. And I think God saw that and sent me this dog And then she was my best friend, like, all through high school till I got married. And then she got cancer and I had to put her down, which was the worst day of my life. But anyway, that was a pivotal moment for me, was getting this dog. Her name was Nahoika.
Bless you.
Which, yes, thank you. It's the worst name in the world. But my heart was in the right place. I had just read this book about this woman that gets adopted into a Cherokee tribe. And the Cherokee word for mother is Nakoa. Nahkoa.
Mm-hmm.
And when I suggested this name, it came out wrong. I said Nahoika, and that's what we ended up naming her. So try spelling that out every time you have to take your dog into the vet to get her shots. It's screwed up.
Nahoika.
Nahoika. It's unique.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she was the best dog.
What kind of dog?
She was mostly Australian cattle dog, so blue heeler. She had something else that she was crossed with because she wasn't blue. She was a black and tan, medium-sized dog.
Are dogs blue?
It's that term for the gray color that's like, they have individual hairs that are streaked with black and white. So it creates this effect. It looks gray, but the term for the color is blue. So there are blue heelers and there's red heelers. And like if you rubbed her hair backwards, the bottom part of her hair was white and the top parts of her hairs were black. So it's like she had the ticking gene, but it was just all the same. It wasn't interspersed, and that's what makes them look blue. So
interesting.
Yeah, but she was my buddy. I found a lot of value in being a dog owner. I subscribed to Dog Fancy.
Wait, is that a thing?
It's a magazine.
Okay.
Yeah, all about dogs and dog breeds, and I just devoured that. I got her into an obedience class and an agility class. We did that together. Had a great time, and I just really pictured my life being about dogs. You know, I was going to be a vet, and I was going to help people find this joy that I had found. You know, promote the joy of dogs. And that did not work out. I did work for a vet for a couple of months. Several years later, it did not go the way I wanted it to. Being a vet is pretty horrible. Like, I decided I didn't want to be a vet anymore when he had me hold these two-day-old Yorkshire Terrier puppies. And he docked their tails with nail clippers. And I was like, I'm out. If this is what it is, then I'm out. And so I did not pursue that dream. I stayed at Altamuller's and sold jewelry for another 8 years.
Dude.
Making the big bucks.
That was quite the career shift, though.
Yeah, well, my degree that I did get, I have an AA degree.
Okay.
At East Central. So really it doesn't count for anything. But it's in wildlife conservation and management.
Really?
And I thought there for a while because, I mean, I went to college thinking I was going to be a middle school science teacher.
I went to college.
Yeah. And then I got to the part where I had to go visit. Yeah, that's why I didn't get it. I don't watch the SpongeBob. This is where the fact that we're different generations comes into play.
Sorry.
SpongeBob is not for me. But I went thinking I was going to be a middle school science teacher.
Middle school?
Yes, specifically.
Who wants to teach middle school?
Right? Well, A, I figured job security.
Okay.
B, I figured that's where kids get interesting. Like, I did not like little kids.
Yeah.
I figured...
You have a point.
Because of everything, like, I remembered being middle school age, you know, when I got Nahoika and everything, and just what a rough time that was, and I thought, I can be there for these idiots, you know. But I could not bring myself to go and observe other classrooms. I was just too scared.
Oh.
I was not confident enough in my career choice or myself to go and observe other classrooms. So I just didn't. I changed careers, or degrees anyway, and wildlife conservation management instead, thinking I'd be a park ranger or a conservation agent.
I could totally see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could have totally done that. But you had to go on to like 8 more years of college.
Really?
Yeah, and I was like, oh, no.
Why?
I don't know.
Huh.
I don't know. I was just really over school, though, at that point.
Well, yeah.
So I checked out
Yeah.
and just worked at Altamuller's, like I said. Which is its own kind of education.
Yeah, how'd you end up there?
I had been working at Orscheln's after we got married. And then we were renting a house in Sullivan, so I was working...
You got married pretty young, too.
Got married at 20.
Okay.
Yeah, so when I was 21, I started working at Orscheln's. And I quit without having another job. and just had to get something. So I was just looking at the ads in the Missourian, I was like, oh, Altamuller's is hiring. So I showed up. I had to buy clothes to go to this interview because I've been working Orscheln's, all I had was jeans and t-shirts, right? So I went to Penny's and bought myself some nice dress black pants, some nicer shoes, and a polo. And went in for this interview, and the two guys there, names are Mark and Carl, and they're awesome. They were super nice to me. They just asked about what I'd done, up to that point, and I happened to mention that I made websites as like a hobby.
You did?
They just totally lit up. So they asked a couple other questions, and I don't remember what they were, but I remember feeling so stupid that I didn't have better answers, because I really wanted to impress these guys. Because it was just such a fancy place, and that was just so not me. And I knew, I was coming straight out of the farm and home store next door. But so I went home totally thinking I blew it. I actually stopped by Orscheln's and told my friends how bad I blew it. And so I went home, and there was already a message on my phone. They're saying, we would like to offer you this job. We want you to come start on Monday. I was like, oh, okay, I got to go buy more pants now. So, yeah, they did have me make their website. I made their first website they ever had.
Wow.
And then they had me...
So it's a local business, yeah.
Altamuller's, yeah. It's just the one. It's family business. It's been in the same family since 1902.
Well, fun fact for everyone.
These two guys that I worked for were brothers. Their dad, before them, had gotten the business from his dad, who had established it back in the day. But, I made their first website, and then they put me on getting their first computer system in the store. They had never... When I was working there I started in 2004, and in 2009 I finally got them computers. Up till then, 21st century, we're writing receipts for, tens of thousands of dollars worth of jewelry on carbon paper and putting it in a shoebox. That was how we did business. And, they knew they had to do something, but they just did not have any way of, getting that process started. So that's what they hired me for, man.
Question.
Yes.
What is carbon paper?
It's those, there were pads of paper with, the whole receipt thing printed out on top, but then underneath that was a layer of black paper that's like plastic on the top, and then underneath it is literally a layer of carbon. So that when you write on the top piece of white paper, it pushes through onto the next, and then it was pink underneath the black paper.
Okay. Yeah.
So then it gets transferred. So you're making two copies at the same time. You're just writing once, but making two copies. And the customer gets one, you get the other. Super high tech. So finally in 2009, I got them computers, and they're still using that system.
That's
I
awesome.
had to research.
They pay you for that?
Oh, I was working full time at the time.
No, what do you mean they pay you extra for that?
Extra for that? No, they should. I should get royalties or something.
Yeah.
Except for I'm completely uninvolved now. I did fully quit. But that was my biggest achievement of my life. It's getting computers installed at Altamuller's. Still pretty proud.
So you said you made websites before.
Yeah. I started making websites in 1996.
That's a good year.
Is that when you were born?
That was when I was born.
Gosh. Oh my gosh.
25 years ago, baby.
No, 26 years now.
Oh, yeah.
I'm turning 26.
Almost
oh my gosh. So, yeah. That's been a long time.
Yep.
Yeah. Things have changed. It's a lot easier to make a website now.
Wait, why were you making websites in 1996?
To impress Tim's family.
Okay.
We had just gotten the internet and a computer. And I knew that the Harmons were nerds, right? So I was like, here's something I could do. It worked, I guess.
That was on your resume for making them like you?
Yeah. Let me present you with my qualifications.
Sounds interesting.
Here we are, But yeah, it's a good hobby to have too. Good skill. It's fun.
Yeah.
So
you still
creative
make
outlet. Yes, I do. You don't have to use HTML anymore. Thank goodness.
Yeah, thank the Lord.
Right. So.
Not that I ever used HTML.
No, but if you needed to learn, I can teach you.
Okay.
You could make an extremely basic website that most browsers wouldn't even recognize anymore.
Okay, great. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, super handy.
Now it's time for question of the week.
Ding!
My question for you, Lisa, out of all of the art you've created, which is your favorite?
Other than my kids, huh?
Correct.
Because I did create them. They came out of me. And I say all the time that my kids are the best things that ever has come out of me.
Can I tell you something?
Yes.
I knew you were going to say that.
Not even sorry.
That's why I was like, I don't know how to word it in a way that's not your children.
Get her to not say this. Too late. So you're talking like canvases and stuff.
Any kind of medium.
That's tough.
You've done a lot.
I've done several now. Some of them I really like looking at more than others.
Lisa is an artist, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You like to paint.
I do.
Particularly.
I do like to paint.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm fairly good at it.
You are fairly good at it, yes.
I am now. My mom has on her wall my first ever actual painting.
Yeah.
Right next to, or on the other side of the wall, is one that I did like 5 years later. And it makes me want to take that first one and burn it. And I remember at the time leaning back and thinking, wow, I am so good at this.
We all have that first one, yes.
I was like, Mom, please, do not display this. It's like, oh, I love it. Gosh, my favorite painting, because I think that's what you want.
I don't know. It's really whatever you want.
I did a painting of a photograph that I took of a lighthouse in Maine that we went to with Tim's family for vacation one time. And it was the first lighthouse I'd ever seen. And so I painted it and made prints of it to give his family as Christmas presents that year. And it turned out okay. You know who Larry Pogue was?
No.
He recently died, but he was in the print shop when I brought this thing in to get prints made. And I just brought this painting in and I was handing it to the guy. It was B&J print shop, you know.
Yeah,
Guy, I'd been in there a couple of times. The guy recognized me. And this guy was standing on my side of the counter chatting with the dude behind the counter. And he saw this painting and he was like, oh, so you think of yourself as an artist, do you? And I was like, A, who the crap are you? And B, yeah, why would I be here if I didn't? And I was like, so I said, yeah. And he was like, oh, because those rocks are flat as pancakes. And I was like, the crap? You know, I kind of looked at the guy behind the counter and I was like, what's with this guy? You know, I don't know him. What is he doing? And then he introduced himself. And he's a local artist. And he said, I mean, we talked for a while. And insulted my painting again. And the guy behind the counter was like, I feel like she did pretty good, you know? And I was like, yeah, you know? And the guy was like, well, what are you doing Wednesday nights? You should come down to East Central. I'm teaching an art class down there. And I was like, I'm busy Wednesday nights because I'm teaching an art class. So I'm sorry, I will have to pass. He's like, oh, but I have scholarships and stuff. I think you have real potential. You just need a little refinement. And I was like, I'm good. I just need 5 prints of this, please. You know?
Wow. You still went for his business and stuff?
Oh, yeah, because it wasn't his fault. The guy behind the counter.
Yeah.
It was not his fault. He was as perplexed as I was. It was this guy who was just hanging out in this.
Oh.
It was, you know, Larry Pogue. He told me his name, and I was like, oh, dude, I know you. I used to drive past this dude's studio as a child and think to myself, I bet that guy is cool. I want to meet this guy. He is also an artist.
That's so sad.
You know? And so, yeah, I walked out of there going, well, never meet your heroes.
Oh.
But it's fine. Anyway, paintings. I'd say that's probably my favorite, but I am working on one now that I'm hoping will also turn out well.
Oh, yeah?
And then I also consider my flower gardens a work of art. I feel like I'm painting with flowers.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm like, I'll stare at it all morning and be like, that needs to go over here, and this clashes with that, so I need to put it over here, and what do I need to fill this space? And it just feels like, you know, I'm Pocahontas and I'm painting with all the colors of the wind, you know? Feels good.
That's amazing. That's how you do that. You make flower gardens.
Yes. Pretty sure that's what she was talking about.
Okay.
In the Disney movie.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. That's really cool. Would you be like willing to post some pictures and stuff
Absolutely.
of your flower gardens
Oh, yeah.
so that the people can see?
I sure will.
Cool.
And be jealous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking from someone who has been in your art class,
Yeah.
can say that yes, Lisa is a pretty good artist.
Always learning, though.
Yeah,
I am very much aware that I progressively get better because I'm constantly like having these realizations like, oh, that's how you do that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't learn from like actual instruction very well. Like if I'd gone to school for this, I would not have gotten much out of it. I can't watch videos on it or whatever because the whole time I'm thinking, oh, that's not how I would do that. You know? Or I just need to try it. And that's how I learn. I don't learn from just watching or hearing about it or whatever.
You have to fail.
I have to, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why this acrylic paint is good, because A, it's cheap, B, you can just keep painting over it until you get it the way you want it.
Right.
So.
Have you ever done oil?
No, I'm too scared.
I think, isn't that more forgiving? Because you can, like,
That's
manipulate
what I hear. It doesn't dry
Right.
fast at all, so you have lots of time to keep moving it around.
Right.
But it's also expensive.
Very expensive.
And I just don't do things that cost money.
We're talking like $40 a tube, depending on the
Exactly.
color. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That gives me the sweats.
Just paint with all one color.
Right?
Just all mono.
Yeah, do monochromatic. I could maybe do that.
Yeah.
But no, I like my 50-cent tubes of acrylic from Walmart.
Yes.
All the colors of the wind.
Yes.
That's how I roll.
Yeah. I know. I learned a ton from your art class. Like,
Oh, good.
I took other art classes when I was younger, but then that one was like learning like kind of how to learn.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like that is super huge, and like like when you make mistakes, like take note of that, you know?
Yeah.
And then like try again and try this way, or techniques and stuff, because like a lot of people will teach you techniques and they don't really explain why. But
that's a big issue of mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I felt
want
like
the why.
you always kind of explained
Oh, good.
why.
Okay.
And then you just showed us a lot of Bob Ross.
Yeah. Well, what's not to love about Bob Ross?
Yeah. And we made fun of you for saying whatnot.
I remember that. I had to defend myself with a whole slideshow.
Yes.
Wherein I blamed my brother because it was his fault. He trained me to say whatnot.
So anyway, that's your favorite piece of art that you've done.
Yeah, so far, you know.
When you say painting, like what else do you do? Like flower garden,
You mean like expression-wise?
mediums.
Just yeah, it's mostly that. Photography. My birds.
Yes.
You're not on Facebook, so you don't know about my birds.
Are you the bird lady?
Yeah, I really am. I'm the bird lady of Facebook now. I should just change my name on there. I'll show you. You can see it later, but I have created a bit of a following for myself. I have a fairly decent camera. Tim got me a nice camera for Christmas.
Oh.
And so I just took the screen off of one of our windows. And I set it up I set the camera up with a zoomy lens in front of this window.
Wow.
And I just camp out and I catch birdies.
Dude.
I know.
Those look professional.
That's not a bird, that's a cat. Yeah, they can only zoom in so far. So
yeah, those are like insane, actually.
if you get any closer than that, you can tell they're kind of blurry, but it just brings me joy.
That's so cool. There are like a ton of different kinds here.
Yeah, a lot of those have moved on for the summer already. They're just here for the spring.
Can you like tell what they all are?
Oh, heck yes. Oh, yeah.
That's really cool.
I would study bird books. As a child, I'd put myself to sleep with a bird atlas, you know, and just memorize them.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So I was ready for this. God planted me in a nature reserve and said, here you go, kid. Here's all the birds you dreamed about seeing when you were a kid.
Aw.
Yeah. It's like meeting celebrities for me.
That's awesome.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I should hang out with you more often.
You should come see my birds.
Because, like, I was walking by... We were in a park the other day.
Yeah.
And, like, I saw a tree and was like, I don't know. Like, this is a really cool tree. I have no idea anything about anything. Nature. So, like... it's like Lisa would know which kind of tree this is.
I probably would, because trees are one that I'm working on.
Yeah.
I am trying to learn all the different trees in my forest. It's a goal of mine.
And then also with the plant semen, it was like,
Yeah.
That was super nice having
that visual.
Oh yeah, while all the pollen's falling on you and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, that's great, Lisa. Thanks.
You know what that is.
So maybe
plants are just having sex in the air all around you, and you're caught up in it. Part of a giant tree orgy.
Those are the wrong colors of the wind.
Oh no. I should ask my question to you now.
Okay.
I've talked a lot. So, Marge.
Yes.
What is the most impactful thing that someone has ever said to you?
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, I know. You might have to take a hot minute.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That someone's ever said to me.
And that could be like in the form of a song or a movie or something. Something that impacted the crap out of you.
Well, I mean, like, scripture.
No, I'm not counting that.
Okay.
Just kidding.
I mean, like, because, like, there's definitely a scripture.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But,
I was hoping for more like person to person in some way.
Yeah. I'm going to need to think about it.
Yeah.
This segment would be much more interesting if we had a timer.
Yeah.
You can't think about it. You just have to answer.
Oh, that's a good point. I'll set a timer for you.
No.
Next week.
Starting next week.
All right.
You didn't get a timer, so I don't...
No, I should have had one, though. I was...
No, you're good.
I rambled.
What's the most impactful thing that someone has said to me?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have, like, several instances I can think of.
Mm-hmm. But, like, which one do you come back to the most?
Well, I've learned a lot recently, because I've been really struggling recently.
Yeah.
And by recently, I mean, like, the past 2 years.
Yeah.
And then I hit rock bottom in, like, February.
Yeah.
March. There's been a lot gleaned from that. Like, a lot. I hate that word. But
I know, me too. It's kind of a gross word, but it works.
People have, like, been kinder to me than they ever have been.
Mm.
Or maybe I've been noticing it in a new way.
Mm-hmm.
But going to different forms of therapy has been... I've heard a lot of, like, really impactful stuff through those mediums, and, like, I don't know if... There is, like, one theme, and I just told you earlier, like, my therapist told me, like, you are not a problem. Mm-hmm. And that theme has been put throughout my therapy, both in inpatient and one-on-one, or not inpatient, outpatient.
No.
But yeah, like that whole, you're not a problem. You deal with problems. Mm-hmm. You yourself are not a problem.
Yeah.
And that is huge to someone who grew up thinking that I was a problem. And like you just live that way, and you don't really know any better.
Exactly.
And hearing that, it was like what we were talking about earlier. Like it was just like a click, like a kind of like, you know, like that makes a lot of sense, and no one has ever told me that before.
Yeah.
And so it's so freeing, because then in your mind of like logic of like how do I go about life now isn't how do I fix me, how do I deal with these things that I don't want to deal with, and how do I I don't know, like how do I even stay alive and deal with myself, and it changes everything from like asking those questions into asking questions like how do I deal with these emotions and these thoughts when they come up, rather than like blaming yourself for the feelings and thoughts, understanding where they're coming from and understanding that they're feelings and thoughts and understanding that they're not you, they're just feelings and thoughts, and that God has given you the ability to govern thoughts and feelings, and learning about like what they are is like, it's kind of maddening because you're like, what the heck, like why weren't we taught, like, because the knowledge is out there now of what people, you know, like in psychology and in the mental health world and stuff, like the knowledge is out there for people to learn, and yet not a lot of people are learning, I guess. But you have a quote or something?
I did. What you were saying just made me think of something that I read just yesterday, and it just cracks me up how it all kind of goes together.
Yeah.
So this other guy that I follow on the Facebook, he says, before I could manage my emotions, I had to accept my emotions. Before acceptance, I had to identify my emotions. Before identifying, I had to acknowledge my emotions. Before acknowledgement, I had to be honest with myself. And that took work.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, so basically that.
Yep.
I didn't say it as eloquently as he did.
Well, I'm sure that he had more warning that he was going to post something, and I surprised you. So
but yeah.
Okay.
So, like, yeah, if I had to sum it up, like, you're not a problem.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. Good stuff. I am glad that somebody said that to you. That's important.
Yeah. And I like it urges you to that freedom, and it urges you to tell others of that freedom.
Yes. Right. That's how I feel about, the impactful things people have said to me too. It's like, gosh, I can't wait for a situation to come up that I can share this.
Right.
Because let me give you this freedom that I have found.
Right. So basically, everyone go to therapy.
Yep.
And talk to us.
Listen to this podcast,
Maybe
too.
You just chill out and drink some beer, okay?
Yeah. Cheap therapy.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, you were saying you worked at Altmueller's for a while.
Yeah. What other significant I had? What were my points now? Oh, okay. So here's the thing.
Okay.
I got to talk about this because this is a big part of how I got to be where I am and who I am. So I told you we'd homeschooled for middle school. And then my mom got a job at a little tiny private Christian school and did not want to go there. We had to drive 45 minutes, just to get there. I didn't want to do it. But we got there. And since she was a teacher, she stayed late a lot of the time. We had to get there early, and then we had to stay late. And any other teachers that had kids also at the school would also bring them. And we'd hang out. And so it was real fast. After a couple of days, we started to get to know the other teachers' kids. And one of them was this kid that was like my brother's age. He was a little bit older. He was in the grade above my brother. We were all just hanging out. There's not a whole lot else to do at this tiny little school, But I kind of clicked with this kid. And we were both fans of The Far Side, right?
What is that?
The Far Side? Oh, gosh. Now I'm sad for you. It's the cartoon, the Midvale kid. Mm-hmm. The kid leaning on the door real hard to get into the Midvale School for the Gifted.
Right.
But the door says, pull, right? That's a Far Side cartoon.
Okay.
Yeah. Gary Larson.
Okay.
So I could quote Far Side cartoons, and this kid totally got it. And we would just riff, Mm-hmm. We entertain each other.
Nerds.
Yes, super nerds. But it wasn't just like the Far Side, it was a bunch of things that we found out we had in common. And so, it wasn't very long before we were just hanging out a lot,
mm-hmm.
after school. We'd just sit at the same table.
A kindred spirit.
Kindred spirits. Yeah. I'm saying it was very similar to with Nahoika, where it just clicks, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only problem with that is he was younger than me and a boy. And, I was a sophomore. He was in 5th grade.
Mm-hmm.
That's weird, right?
Mm-hmm.
In a little school like that is hard to get away with.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I get nobody really knew what to do with that. And that they were just looking out for both of us. But, I hear the comments. You can't hide that kind of stuff. People would ask me, well-meaning friends. I didn't really have any other friends. It was mainly just him and me. There were a couple of other girls my age that I could hang out with. And I did have one other really good female friend. But when he and I were hanging out together, it was kind of to the exclusion of everybody else,
mm-hmm.
Which is not healthy. Again, I was profoundly unhealthy at the time, so this was not a great dynamic. But we were having fun, right? Mm-hmm. But other people, other teachers' kids and stuff would say to me things like, well, everybody thinks you're molesting him, right? I'd be like, no. What? No.
Wow.
Dude, we're just friends. Other teachers would, and I don't know if they came to him or not either, but they would come to me and say things like, you guys need to sit 6 inches apart. And you need to spend some more time apart. You need to, all this stuff. Be like, what do you think is going on?
Yeah.
I knew what they thought because I was hearing those comments. The people were legit asking me about it.
As a sophomore?
But I was just, I was still just shocked because it was so not that.
Yeah.
It was not that. It was 2 people who were just friends.
Yeah.
And just having a great time, And
everyone else is making it weird.
Nobody else can understand what they're looking at. It's just... Except for his mom. His mom was really cool. And she treated me really well. She was another teacher there. And she was also my friend. And she got it. She was cool about it. And, my mom too. But I get that it was weird. But I also had never had that before. I had never had somebody that I could just be myself around.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, that is really powerful. Especially when you're that age.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter what it looks like.
You'll
that was
Yes,
exactly. Yeah. I would take what I can get, and that was the most important thing in my life, and it really did consume my life for a long time. For 3 years. We went there started going when I was in 10th grade, and so I graduated from there, and we stayed really close friends the whole time. But starting in my junior year, I was hearing things like, "Well, what's he gonna do when she graduates? He needs to get some real friends. She's holding him back. It'll be good for him when she graduates," and all these kinds of things. And I was having these really powerful thoughts coming through my brain like, yeah, he's younger than you, but he is so much cooler than you. He is going to get a little bit older and realize he can do so much better than you.
Mm.
And then he's going to be out and you're going to be devastated. Mm. So I saw my upcoming graduation as kind of an opportunity to just break it off. End it or whatever. And that was really my goal. I mean, I wasn't... He lived even farther away from school than I did. Opposite direction. So I was like, I'm going to be, way down in Marthasville. Never going to have the chance to see him again. It's going to have to end, right? I couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. I graduated and then I kept finding reasons to go back and hang out and stuff. I'd go to his house and me and his mom and him would just hang out, Mm-hmm. And it was great. And, I just felt like this makes sense, this is my family, And
you felt accepted.
I felt accepted. And, by this point, I'm not going to lie. He was 13. Mm-hmm. I was 18. And I did have a crush on him. Mm-hmm. This was my best friend. And I'd never had somebody in my life that I'd gotten along with like this. And he was hot, I know it's weird. I know that is I'm not a pedophile,
right. Yeah.
But this is where I found myself.
Mm-hmm.
He was a good looking guy. And, I didn't ask for this. This is where I found myself. Mm-hmm. And so I had a lot of talks with God and look, I want to do what's best for him. And I do not want to go through what I feel like is this impending realization of his that he can do better than me. Because I'm not hot. I'm just average at best, So I was like, that will kill me. When that happens, which I was certain it was going to happen, mm-hmm. That will kill me. And I can't let that happen. So, right about that time, I was having these talks with God. I started working at Orscheln's, and Tim worked there. And I hadn't seen Tim in a long time. The whole time I went to PCA or whatever, I had lost track of Tim. We had been friends as kids. Kind of got back together there at Orscheln's, and at first I was like, yeah, I used to have a crush on Tim. I knew that, but I was like, I just don't have those feelings anymore. Mm-hmm. It was cool to get time with him again, get caught up. It's I just am not feeling that. But then one day, it's just this very distinct memory. I was just at my station, working my little cash register, and Tim was over stocking some shelves, and he reached up and he put his dog crate on the top shelf, and just seeing his arms and his hands, I had this thought in my head hot. That's hot. I was oh, I guess I do still have feelings for Tim. And so then I was okay.
Strong man.
Okay, I know, right? This dude, Tim is 5'10", right? Uh-huh. He weighed 120 pounds.
Wow.
when we got married. He was a toothpick. He was as big around as my forearm,
okay.
you know?
Yep.
So, because that's my type. But anyway, we did start talking more and stuff. And
it's funny you remember that specific
It is very distinct in my brain.
Something clicked.
Yep. It's like, well, this could work. So we did hang out. We did a couple things like his friends, and then it was like obvious. You know, like he would take me down to my youth group that I got involved with in St. Louis, because when I was going to high school in Arnold, it just kind of made more sense Wednesday nights to go to church down there. So he would drive me down there, and one day he said something like, so I don't actually want to date anyone without the intention of getting married, you know, in the future. Like, I want that to be the reason that I would date someone. And I was like, oh yeah, me too. Absolutely. I agree to that. Mm-hmm. He's like, so do you want to go out? You know, you want to make it official? And so, I mean, that was basically when we got engaged. Mm. And then, yeah, you know, it's all downhill from there. No,
it's not.
But no, that was, so I went and I did, it was during the school year. I went and made a trip down to tell my friend that I was engaged. And I walked into the room where his mom taught. He was in there. And I looked at her because I couldn't look at him, and I said, you know, I just came by to tell you guys, let you know I'm getting married. And his mom was, you know, excited, and he told me congratulations and stuff, and he just kind of looked at me, and he walked right past me, and he walked out the building and went and sat in his car. And that is the most devastating I think I've ever felt. I was just floored. I don't know what I expected. I didn't blame him at all. But I just stood there, like, in the hallway, and I couldn't move. Mm. And one of the other teachers came out of the room on the other side of the hall, and she's like, what's this I hear? Getting married? I was like, yeah. And she looked out, and she saw him walking out to his car, and she's like, well, I guess it kind of took him by surprise, huh? I mean, because she knew. And I was like, you know, we talked about everything, but we never talked about that. And I just walked away, you know, and I felt so bad. Like, I know, I was the older one. I was responsible for communication and stuff, but I was just so not in that place. I talked about it. I was doing the best I could with what I had. Mm-hmm. I did not handle it well, obviously. I wish I could go back and do so many things differently. But I was just so immature and so insecure and clueless, you know? Just
well, it sounds like
stupid.
The adults in your life weren't really being super helpful either.
Well, I mean, no, but I get like what... Like, they just didn't know what to do with that, you know? I don't think anybody knew what was going on. If they did, they didn't know how to deal with that. You know, nobody did. So it just kind of happened, and I regret it. I wish, you know, I feel responsible. Like I said, you're gonna have to cut a lot of this out because now I'm rambling.
No, it sounds like, to like recap, it sounds like there was a lot of like loneliness in your life, and you felt very isolated, I guess, and like,
oh yeah,
so like the people who did understand you, or the dogs that did understand
you,
or wherever you found a connection, it was very, you like held on to that because it was like giving you value, it was giving you worth, and so anyway, you fell in love with Tim, and then
got married. And things were really good for about 7 months. I remember it was 7 months because everybody had said, oh, give it 6 months and then see how you feel. You know, everything's going to change after 6 months. And so 6 months came and went. And I was like, it's still good. I'll show these people, you know. We know how to do this whole marriage thing. You know, like, we are meant to be. We're childhood friends. We love each other, and we are going to avoid all of these pitfalls that everyone warned us about because we have so much wisdom and we are just so good at life that we are going to crush this marriage thing. And then 7 months came and everything fell apart. Is how it felt to me. It just really started getting so confusing. I couldn't understand why. Like, it just felt like I was so alone all the time. You know, I felt like I couldn't talk to him, or like he wasn't interested in the same things. Like, we had formerly had some stuff that we did together, and it just felt like that wasn't happening. I don't know. Things just got complicated, you know? And I felt really lonely and just really sad and confused and hurt, and I had a lot of stuff going on that I did not have a good way of dealing with. You know, all of those issues from when I was younger were still present. You know, just getting married didn't fix it. And I, in the back of my head, really thought that it would. You know, I thought, you know, I'm going to find the validation that I wanted as a kid. I'm going to finally be worth something to someone as a girl, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, finding meaning in, you know, just not being a boy. You know, that's what marriage is for, right? It's going to, like, totally fulfill all of these longings for validation and stuff that I'd always wanted. And, you know, best friend, right? Mm-hmm. Built-in best friend. Right there.
A lot of security there.
And, you know, also sex, you know? Mm-hmm. Finally, all the sex that you can have because you're married. Mm-hmm. And it just did not work out.
That's not how it works.
It did not work out that way at all. And so, you know, I'm here, this young idiot, I was trying so hard to do a good job at this marriage thing, you know? And just clearly, now I know I had no idea how to do that. But I was trying really hard at the things that I thought I could do, you know? So he started playing World of Warcraft, and we weren't doing other things together, so I was like, okay, fine. I'll play World of Warcraft with him. You can't beat him? Join him, you know? Mm-hmm. So we did. That was what we did together.
Did you enjoy that?
I did. World of Warcraft is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. It was. I know that it's changed, but this was, you know, 2003, whenever it came out. Started playing it. The other one we played was like, was it Call of Duty? No, I forget what it's called now, but it was a shoot 'em up game, you know. I was pretty good at that. I could keep up, at least, with both of these things, and then I was able to spend time with Tim. Although, you know, facing opposite directions, and, you know, not making eye contact, not actually doing anything. It's literally virtual. You are accomplishing nothing, you know. Mm-hmm. None of it matters. But anyway, that's what we did for, you know, quality time. But a lot of times I'd go to bed by myself, and he'd stay up and play. And
how long was that for?
A couple of years.
Well,
yeah. Yeah, it was a couple of years of that, and I decided, well, we should have a kid, because that'll fix everything, right? And somewhere in there, before I got pregnant, I had gone to, when was that? Oh, I went to my sister's graduation, and, you know, it was at PCA, and my friend was there, and we started talking, and I guess I got his email address, and we started communicating back and forth regularly, and I was like, I've missed him so much, and I was so confused by that fact. Like, I'm married now. Why do I miss this guy? You know, I should be so fulfilled, you know? But it just felt really good to talk to him again. Mm-hmm. And to see what he was up to. He was a musician, taught himself how to play the guitar, you know, writing songs, recording them, doing this really cool stuff. It was fascinating to me. And he was including me in it, you know? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I ended up hanging out with him a couple of times. And Tim didn't really care because then he'd have more time to play. So I just found ways to occupy myself, and one of those ways was hanging out with my friend from high school. But I definitely still had feelings for him, you know? And I think I knew in the part of my brain I was playing with fire. But I also knew I was totally committed to my marriage, and I loved him. But I just did not know what else to do. Because I couldn't stay in that house with no one to talk to and nothing to do. And here's somebody who wants to talk to me and who loves me. And we have a great time together. And this whole time, I never touched him. He never touched me. It wasn't about that. It was just, we had this crazy connection. And it's the kind of thing, like, I know people go their whole lives and never have that. And I had it. And I legit walked away from it. You know, I'm recognizing that it's in this relationship that I chose, it's not the same. And so, I mean, it was tough. I didn't have anybody to help me through that, you know. Because again, nobody knew what in the heck to do with that. You know, I talked to my sisters and they were super cool and understanding. But they didn't get it, you know. So they tried. They did the best they could. But, so I did get pregnant with Ruthie. And, you know, just going, okay, this is going to fix everything. It's going to be okay now. It didn't. You know, that's the worst reason to have a kid. And I stayed in touch with my friend. I even brought Ruthie down to see him. And, you know, they hung out. It was cool. And she was about a year old. And, no, was she older than that? It had been a while. And we talked back and forth. And I had tried to stop talking to him a couple of times. You know, I'd said, look, this is not good. I have to stop because this is hard on me. This is emotional for me. And I don't think it's doing a service to my marriage, you know. But I just didn't feel like things were getting better with Tim. And then I would be emotionally distraught over that. And then I would end up talking to my friend and feeling better, you know. So after a while, I'm trying to remember what year. I guess it was, Ruthie was just a couple of years old. One of our pastors gave a sermon at church about the meaning of life. And that the meaning of life is to glorify God. And I had never heard that before. And it really just kind of slapped me across the face. And I just took the rest of that sermon to kind of look at my life and think, what am I doing? Am I glorifying God with what I'm doing? And I knew at that time it was an emotional affair. That's what I was doing. I didn't see a way out of it without just causing utter devastation to myself again, you know. But I knew it couldn't continue either. And I was doing the laundry, like, later that day, I think. And I just had this moment where God really showed me, you know how you've heard other people's testimonies your whole life, and you hear them talk about being saved from these lives of sin, and how much they love God because of that, because of what He saved them from. This is your sin. You're not innocent. This is a big deal. And this is why I died. This is what I died to save you from. And I had to put the laundry down. Because up until that point, I had not had a moment in my life where I ever really thought of myself as a sinner. I had been such a good kid. I had always been good at doing the right things. Following the rules. Got straight A's. I kind of fought with my siblings sometimes, but they deserved it. So, other than that, a perfect child. But that, like, what I was doing and, you know, what I was thinking about it, you know, God just really revealed it to me. This is what I'm talking about when I say sin. And this is you. It really it gave me the strength to want to cut it off, you know.
Can I clarify something?
Yeah.
So, like, when you say you were, like, convicted of sin.
Yeah.
Like, what,
the emotional affair part of it, you know. Mm-hmm. Because I knew I was not being fully dedicated to my marriage in that. And that God called me to be fully dedicated.
Yeah.
So, like, I did get some clarity on that there, but then how to do that and all that, it was tough. I mean, in some ways, I think of that moment as, like, when I actually got saved. You know, because up till that point, I had nothing in my life that I felt like I needed to be saved from. So it was another bit of a process to actually end it, but I did. I haven't talked to him in, like, 13 years now, and have been able to focus on my actual marriage. Maybe that's all as far as I had wanted to go. I think that's all I had. Like, there is more, but that gets me to, like, adulthood. Because I was, like, 23 when that happened.
Can I ask you about, so, like, what was your relationship with God like up until the point where you were like, maybe I am a sinner?
It was very much, do these things, pray this prayer, don't do these whole list of other things, and then you're good. It was very legalistic.
So you were, like, taught that.
Yes.
And because that, like, we know in hindsight that, like, that doesn't come from God.
Right.
That comes from people. So it sounds like you didn't really have a relationship with God yet.
I had...
Like, you were finding him.
And a most superficial relationship with God. I knew I was a Christian, but I, looking at it now, I can see how I didn't really have any idea what that meant, I thought it meant not watching R-rated movies, not letting other people cuss around you, not drinking beer.
Not letting other people cuss around you?
Yeah. Like, that's what I did. I was the language narc. If you cussed, I would call you out on it, and I would go tell your parents.
Sorry about my dog, by the way. He's making all kinds of noises in the background.
Yes, any farting noises you hear is definitely Hobbs.
I can also attest that no one here is actually farting.
No, but okay, this chair does squeak.
It does.
Like,
yeah.
I swear, it's
does.
not me. It's the
not.
chair.
We have yet to have, like, a proper setup for this podcast.
Right? I mean, I like a challenge.
We're just sitting at my desk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll take some pictures and we'll post them on our various media outlets.
Yes.
In order to really paint a picture
how janky it is
of what this looks like.
Yes.
It's all good stuff.
So anyway, you were told not to drink beer.
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah, I did go to a church that was frowned upon for much of my childhood. And I mean, again, I look back now and I cringe and I laugh and I cry at just how good I was at being self-righteous, right? I could feel good about myself and my, quote, relationship with God because I didn't do all of these things. And at the time I thought it made me a better Christian, but really what I was internalizing was that it made me a better person. That's how it got expressed in my life. And I feel like that's super unfortunate. I regret that.
So it does make a lot of sense then, because when your life isn't going how you want it to go, then you think that something in you needs to change. Like, that's the logic there.
That whole mindset has been until about 2 years ago that I've actually been able to process that and let go of a lot of that.
That's huge to realize that.
Yeah, so, super not effective way to do Christianity either.
Not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if you want to do, like, religion, that's a perfect way to do religion. But, yeah, it's like be a follower of Jesus.
Not real. Yeah.
Right.
Not very authentic at all. But I had just, like I said, I had no concept of that. Even if I did, I couldn't deal with the stuff in me yet in order to, get very far. It's a lot. I'm a mess, Marge.
Welcome to the club, man.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my testimony up to, like, the early 20s. And then, lots of stuff has happened since then, too. That's about half my life. Kind of explains where I'm coming from. Kind of the experiences that made me who I am now. What I have to overcome yet.
Yeah.
And, shout out to Tim, who has hung in there with me through everything and is also working on a lot of stuff of his own. It is certainly not what it used to be, And God has gotten a hold of both of us in some pretty cool ways. But he uses that crap, You gotta go through the crap to get to somewhere better. And so it's just been a process. It's been cool. It's cool for me now to think about all this stuff. It feels like so far away now because that was such a different person that went through all of that, did all of that. I kind of feel bad for little Lisa. She was just so clueless. But I can also see the hand of God. There are so many things that God protected me from as a child and a young adult. Or whatever. I am very thankful for that. I know that, things could have been a lot different. And I am so thankful for the people that were there with me. And even though they might not have understood, they tried, And they did care. And they did love me. And I totally get that. It was a weird situation. So I'm glad that it's different now. I'm glad that I went through it. Things are different now. I think I said that already. It's just very much how I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot there to be learned from, like...
Yeah.
I don't know how to say that. Like, I think hearing you talk about it is, like, you've, like, grown so much in wisdom and understanding of yourself and other people, and in a way that no one else can, because this is your story, And first off, like, thanks for sharing your story.
You're welcome.
It's super helpful to have the word of your testimony, you know? Like your quote, whatever it was.
Shame dies when stories are told in safe places. Yes. And I know you're a safe place, Marge. And it's just you and me.
I'm actually a person, but...
Yes, it's a metaphor, actually. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying.
Well, thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Putting up with a lot of rambling. You can edit that out later. And so there's like a whole lot more that we will get into in the future. I think that's good for one podcast. That's a lot for anybody to have to listen to.
It's all good, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing. That's where we're going to wrap it up this time. And pick
Thanks
up
for listening, everybody.
At a later date.
Yeah. Tune in next time for Marge's testimony.
Yeah. Better buckle in.
Buckle up, everybody.
It's a wild ride.
It's going to be good stuff.
Yeah. All right.
So thanks. Shout out to all, what are we up to? 18 people that have listened?
18 people,
to our pilot episode?
Yeah.
So.
Shout out specifically to Stephanie on Instagram.
Stephanie McKeever. Yeah. With her comment. Right?
Yeah, she actually agrees with you.
How do you say that guy's last name? Carrie
Elwes.
Elwes? It is Elwes?
Elwes.
Okay. I've never said it out loud because I'm scared to get it wrong. But, yeah, love him too. Love him too. Hate his movie.
She too has a disdain for The Princess Bride.
I feel that.
Maybe we should...
My kindred sister.
We should all watch the movie together. Yeah. Which, that is coming too.
Yes, we're going to do a deep dive on The Princess Bride.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll change lives.
Yes.
And opinions.
Maybe.
And probably break some hearts.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Whose heart? I don't know.
Carrie Elwes' heart.
Oh. I was thinking about yours, but...
He listens to this podcast.
Yeah.
He was the first subscriber.
He texted me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or on a first name basis with Carrie, just not a last name basis. Because that thing's a mess.
Okay, bye.
Bye.